Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I'm the head coach at G.R.A.C.E Financial Coaching, and I have Tressa Sheffield with me today. I'm so excited to hear about all the dumb things she's done. Tressa is a productivity and a personal finance coach, and she empowers couples, families, and young adults seeking to go from financial barrier to financial breakthrough. Her company is called Gallop Coaching LLC. We will definitely be asking more about that. And Tressa has a background in agricultural business, athletic coaching, leadership, and mentoring through youth ministry. Tressa is also, on top of all of that, a wife, a mother, an artist, and a board game geek, and an ordained minister. So, Tressa, tell us about your coaching in your free time.
Well, hi, Suzanne. It is absolutely a full-time business for me now. But I love it. I never in my life thought that I would be doing this type of thing, helping people in this way as a business. I got into personal finance, money management, and helping others shortly thereafter because we went through a huge breakthrough in my own family. So for 20 plus years as an adult, I did dumb things. I made mistake after mistake. I like to use hashtag 1 million mistakes. And we've been through a lot of healing in that area. And as a teacher, one of my giftings is teaching. I love coaching and coming alongside other people. And so it was just an organic thing that as we went through that process that I started to help others that were a step or two behind me.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably how most of us financial coaches got started, is by going through the process ourselves, having those mistakes rear their ugly head maybe at us, and learning the hard way, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me about the productivity side of your coaching. I am extremely interested in that.
Yes. So I started out actually just thinking I wanted to do general life coaching. And then as I started to interview mostly college students, young adults, that was the group that I started out working with. A lot of them wanted to learn more about money. And of course, that was one of my top areas where I wanted to teach. And so it's just, it hasn't ended since that time. This is just an area where I have a ton to share, and there's a lot of need. So, so tell me your question again, because I just went off.
No, that was a good explanation. But who comes to go further? Who comes for productivity training? Who are the people?
So the productivity is a huge part of it for me. I spent many, many years as an athletic coach. And a lot of that had to do with discipline and getting people organized. And that's so important in our finances. And although I was teaching other people how to do that, I couldn't figure that out for myself with my money management. So learning how to create habits specific to healthy finances, getting things organized in a way that works for the way that I learn was something that was really difficult for me. It was a difficult process to go through. And so I noticed that a lot of my clients struggle with the same things. They struggle with discipline. They struggle creating habits. They struggle with time management, with managing themselves. And so I'm using a lot of those skills that I developed over years and years in athletics, and just bringing the financial part into that. And it's different for, each unique client.
Right.
But I needed to add that in there because that is an area where I like to focus. I like to help them develop the habits and the discipline, and in a fun way, so that it's not, so that discipline isn't a bad word.
Right.
But so that they know that they can do it. And there's a lot of joy and celebration in that.
What would you think if I said, I think today's definition of discipline, it's actually turned into the word adulting?
That's actually a word that I use in my business. Yes. I actually have a little sign up here on my shelf that says I'm an adult, but not a real adult.
It's so true. And it I feel like that it transfers across generations. So whether I'm coaching a woman who is about to turn 60, or a girl who is getting into her first college program at 20 years old, it really, adulting with money is something that we all struggle with. And I feel like it's becoming a more and more of a struggle.
Absolutely. I think that may be the title of my first book.
Adulting with money.
It's literally on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just pulled that right out of my head. But yeah, and I use that language a lot because people will tell me they're insecure. They'll tell me they feel like an imposter. They're adulting in all other areas of their life, but not with their money. And so, yeah, it does kind of bring it down to a more not such a heavy place. Discipline is a heavy word, but adulting is like, oh yeah, I just need to adult better.
I just need to learn how to adult. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the name of your company, Gallop Coaching, this is one of my favorite things because it's not a normal financial coach name. I've met hundreds of coaches and this one was different. So tell us about the title of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So this also goes back to my background in agriculture. So my actual job title for almost 20 years was professional horse trainer. So I trained show horses to do various events. I was not a barrel racer, not a speed girl or anything to do with race horses. That's where a lot of people go. But I did train show horses, and I love animals. I love horses. It's a huge part of my life and my lifestyle. I still have several out here on my little ranch in Texas, and so it's part of me. It's part of who I am. And I love the people. I love all of the people that I interacted with over those years. As a trainer, a big part of that job is coaching others. So I was giving riding lessons everywhere from beginners to, advanced non-pros, showing in the show arena at national and global levels.
Wow.
And so as a horse trainer, there are a lot of similarities with training people how to manage their money.
Yeah, I believe it.
A lot of similarities. And I worked a lot with young horses. And so by the time we got, we would start slow, just like we do with money. We start with the basics. We start with foundation. Foundational work is key. And so from there, we can build upon that. We start walking. We start moving slowly. We teach them to carry a saddle. We teach them to carry a rider. And that all starts slowly until they're comfortable and confident. And if at any point they lose their confidence, it takes a lot of time to get that back. So by the time we get to the point where that horse is galloping, which is the fastest speed that a horse can go, then we've accomplished something. And so that's my goal for my clients, is to get them to where they're galloping, where they're running at full speed with confidence, and they're able to overcome any obstacle that stands in their way.
Yeah, it is. I love that. That's such a good analogy. And it's understandable even to someone who has never been on a horse.
Good.
Ever.
I'm glad.
People think that's so strange. They're like, how have you gone through your entire life and not been on a horse? Like, grew up in New York, wasn't a lot of horses running around.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. Well, I created this show, Tressa, to help people realize that even though you and I now do this for a living, we've all made financial mistakes, and hopefully someone out there listening can learn from the experience of others. So what is the dumbest thing you would say you've ever done with money?
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm going to talk about this on camera. Yeah, this is a story I don't share often. But when I was in my 20s, I got invited to a party for women. It was just for women. got invited by someone I didn't really know well. And I went to this party and they were talking about this amazing investment opportunity. And I thought, oh, this is great. My husband and I were young. We weren't making hardly any money. We were struggling to see how we would ever reach financial goals. We were raising young kids. And they said, yeah, you can make an investment of a different level and you're going to, at the end, receive 8 times your money back. And I thought, oh, this sounds really good. So not only did I decide to move forward, but I brought my mother in and she decided to do it as well after hearing, the amazing pitch about how women are lifting each other up and we're doing, good in the world. And so she invested at a very small amount, and I actually invested $5,000.
Oh my God.
I did not have $5,000,
Oh
but I was desperate and in a hurry.
Mm.
And, $40,000 would have changed our lives at that point. And that's
Yeah.
all that I could see. And I believe them. And so we decided to get every cash advance on our credit cards that we could. We went and got a loan from the bank. We had no savings, 0. So this was all borrowed money. We went to a nice dinner and I gave this money to a perfect stranger, someone I didn't know. And literally 2 weeks later, it was all over the news that this was a pyramid scheme.
Oh, so was this like a local thing that was happening?
It
or
was
did they find out it was nationwide. Okay.
Nationwide. It exploded. The growth, and then, when they ran the news stories, it literally exploded.
Oh.
Of course, then no one answered phone calls or emails after that. And that money was gone. There was no recourse. I will say this was before the internet. So there was no, I'm dating myself a little bit, but there was no Googling it to see if this was legit.
To see if it was right. Absolutely. And honestly, though, Tressa, even today, you can Google stuff. Unless you're using 4 different search engines, Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing, you may not be getting all of the information. And even then, if it's something that was in its infancy and you got in at the ground floor, there might not have been enough information.
Right. You still hear about it all over the news.
Right.
People getting taken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So, all right. So we've got the cash advances on the credit card. Any idea what those credit card rates were back then?
They were super high because we had terrible credit already. This was not the first mistake that we had made, but it was the one that led us eventually into bankruptcy.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So mom invested a little. You guys invested the $5,000. Couple weeks later, we realized this is all for naught. It's all false. It's all built on nothing. So what's the next step?
A lot of crying.
Yeah.
And honestly, not having a good foundation in finances, it really did send us into a spiral from there. Okay. And I will say that, I was young. I was naive. I thought of myself as a smart person, but I let emotion drive that decision, desperation drive that decision. But really the worst thing that came out of it, and what I would consider the worst mistake that I ever made, was that I let that decision define my identity as a money manager for the next 15 years of my life.
Oh, wow. That is more detrimental than losing the 5,000, right? Because now we've got 15 years of being unsure, of not being confident, of maybe pulling an ostrich and putting our head in the sand about stuff. So what did we learn after 15 years? Because we obviously you gave it a time limit. So what did we learn at that 15-year mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about that part. Redemption is possible.
Yes.
Even after years and years of not thinking that things can change. Yeah. So I eventually learned that my mistakes are not my identity. Because you're right, I did absolutely. I lost faith in my own decision-making ability, in my own judgment. I just thought subconsciously, well, I'm just not good with money. Definitely shied away from any sort of investment or risk after that, which really crippled, our retirement savings, lost out on a lot of opportunities. But yeah, eventually, as I began to just become sick about our situation, and dove into studying personal finance and realizing that it was about behavior and mindset and communication and all of these things that didn't have anything to do with numbers or how smart I was, or even my ability to make decisions. It was it was in building a growth and abundance mindset, and being able to separate myself and who I really am and what I'm really capable of from the mistake that I made.
Yeah. I had I'm doing a group coaching class right now, and kind of, I don't want to say got into it, but had a little bit of a heated one-on-one discussion with somebody in a class of 18 people with everybody else watching.
Oh, that's always fun.
And I finally, after I let him go off on this isn't going to work, here's why it hasn't worked, blah, 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 blah. Here's the numbers, here's the percentage rates, this is why this can't happen, da, 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 da. I simply said, you're doing math, and this is a therapy session.
Yeah.
If you would like to do math, please take it offline. We are in the middle of a therapy session, because that's really what it is. You have to have a emotional, mental breakthrough to get to a place where you can even pick up a personal finance book.
100%.
Yeah. So what book did you pick up? What did we read?
A little bit of everything. I love to read, and I go through a lot of books. Definitely picked up Dave Ramsey's book. We did use the debt snowball method to pay off all of our debt. So after bankruptcy, and most of that was unsecured debt, so a lot of it was discharged. Nothing changed. So we ran up another 90 grand in debt. Oh. And we needed a way out of that. And so we did use his book to go through the process of paying off the debt. I read a lot of books about mindset. Actually, the book Boundaries by Henry Cloud was very significant for me, because I was not good at setting boundaries, and that helped me to set a boundary between the emotions from past decisions and past experiences and who I wanted to become.
Right. I tell people, first of all, it's back there on that bookshelf somewhere. I really have to read that book every 1 to 2 years.
Yes.
It's not just like how Dave Ramsey has Financial Peace University, and some people, I encourage people who take it to take another class and to take another class and to take another class. Boundaries and habits with money are stuff that you have to continue to beat into yourself, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
You have to continue to feed on it, because I am what Dave would call, and Dave Ramsey is also a natural spender. Dave and I are both natural spenders. We are both the same on the disc profile. It's a little creepy, but I understand why God has put me in this position of being a financial coach, because it helps me stay on track as much as it's helping my clients get on track. And boundaries, I believe, is the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And any book that had habits in the title, I read. Atomic Habits would be one of my favorites. Anything by Dr. Caroline Leaf.
Oh, yes.
Good
Haven't heard
stuff.
her brought up in a while. Yeah, that's a good
Mhm.
reminder. Yeah, definitely. Atomic Habits is definitely on that shelf. Also, there's very, very few books on that shelf. It's more for, decorative purposes, but there are some books to get read over there. So we're $90,000 in debt post bankruptcy, and we start the debt snowball, and we're reading these mindset books, and we're finally setting or learning to set healthy boundaries. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mhm.
How long were we in that position, and when did we get out of it?
We started our debt-free journey in 2018, and it took us 2.5 years to pay off $90,000, and that
Yeah.
included our house.
Oh, that included your house.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I've
great.
got the deed to my house in a frame on my wall,
Oh, I love it. I love
and
it. Did it
it's
feel
the best
different?
feeling ever.
Is it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I will say that when we started that journey, my husband was not on board. He is also the spender in the family, and the spontaneous one, and I'm the planner and the maybe not so much a saver, but not a full blown spender either. But it very, very quickly he came on board.
Okay.
I was just excited about it, and I was managing most of the money already anyway. And so that's another thing I love to help clients with is you bringing the relationships in unity through this journey. Our marriage has improved 1,000%, because we had to communicate about this subject that was always sort of hidden away, and we avoided it at all costs. So
It's,
2.5 years later, it was all gone. It was all done. And
so the deed on the wall made me think of something. We're recording this in March of 2023, and there is this push, this movement towards Gen Z and the younger millennials of not owning anything, where that is a positive, and you shouldn't own anything. You should just use it and leave it for the next generation if that's the thought process, or there's no, you're never going to have, or the other side of the coin, but the same principle, you're never going to have enough money to own anything.
Yes.
And what would you say to somebody like that?
Yeah. I would say that ownership is important. It's important. As far as the not being able to afford anything, we're seeing this a lot in the housing market with the rising costs of housing, and with a lot of the corporations coming in and buying up housing. I'm working with a single mom right now that's in an apartment, and it's her goal, it's her dream to have a house, and she's struggling to see how that's going to happen. But it is possible. It is possible. And she's not there yet, so she's jumping a little ahead. She's still working on paying off the debt. But it absolutely is possible. We don't know what the economy is going to do. There are things that are out of our control. We don't know what the interest rates and the housing market, the car market. My husband is in the automotive business. He's seen tons of shifting changes in that. We don't know, but we can control our behavior. We can control whether we agree with that poverty mindset that says that we aren't going to be able to afford the house. We aren't going to be able to ever buy our next car with cash. We'll always have a car payment. We can choose to agree with that, or we can choose to agree with the abundance mindset that says that it is possible to get around people that are doing it, that have done it, that can show you how to get there. It's all about your behavior.
Yeah. And I do subscribe to what you just alluded to, which is you are most like the 5 people that you spend the most time with, the 5 people that you hang out with the most.
Yes.
And that is, if you are surrounding yourself with people who are telling you, oh, you're 30, sorry, it's 2023, you're never going to own a home. If you're surrounding yourself with those people, or you wake up and you realize that you have been surrounding yourself with those people, might be time to pop on, purchase that boundaries book, and make some improvements.
Yes. When I teach financial principles, the number one thing, especially for the Gen Z college students, is seek wisdom. Seek wisdom. Don't let people water you that don't have a good field.
Yeah. So true. I love that. Awesome. Well, Tressa, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I could go on all day, but this has been awesome conversation. Thank you for being so honest. It is really inspiring to see somebody like you who has done so much in life, and you're helping so many people in so many different ways. And you're just going to keep going on with it.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Yes, you guys can find Tressa on all her social media pages and website in the show notes below. And I hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money.